Alright then folks, it's not going to be that interesting video, but I haven't done a time-lapse for a while, and when I did do the guide for the Astra wheel bearing, it was a bit easy to be honest, because it just bolts on and bolts off. But with most Peugeots and to be honest most other cars, you've got to take the hub off and then get the bearing out and press a new one in. So this bearing's not very well. Let's play all in the bearing. Horrific noise of anything about 25 mile an hour. Plenty of play, grinding the lot. We'll switch to time lapse and we'll just get this sorted really. And you can work out from what I'm doing in time lapse what you need to do. But basic principles are obviously to take the wheel off, but if you wanted to take that clip out there, take that cover off, there'll be a nut behind there, either 30 or 32, something like that. Undo that. You need someone to stamp the foot on the brake when you do that. And then we'll undo the bolts on the strut, the track control arm, the ball joint, take the caliper off, take the disc off, and then the whole hub will come off with the bearing attached. Well, that's the idea anyway. Let's see how well this hub comes off a car that's done 200,000 miles. So tools you're going to need for this job, not actually as many as you would think. You need a lever bar of some sort to lever down the bottom arm, jack and axle stands obviously, not here. Likely to be hammer, wire brush for clean off, seeing some grips at some point needed, screwdriver, and you've got a little Torx here, that's a T30, a very big Torx, that's a T55, 16mm deep socket or spanner, but socket's going to be easier, 21mm socket, spanner will be useful too, 10mm deep socket, 19mm for your wheel nuts, obviously an array of ratchets, including a nice big breaker bar there to undo the hub nut, and that is a 35mm socket. I had to use this as well, which is a ball joint breaker. You could have probably got around it to be honest with someone else bouncing on a bar if you had someone, but I was on my own so I used one of those. And of course a cup of tea which needs filling up because I just knocked it over. Not impressed. So there we go. Right, let's get on with the job. Alright, so we had a bit of a video fail there where the time-lapse camera stopped, unfortunately. But what you didn't see was a lot of me getting frustrated. Basically, all that I've just spent an hour doing is trying to get this off. Basically. Only had a breaker bar, which is normally good for a lot. It wasn't enough. I was literally bending the thing and breaking my back. So I gave a quick text to Lewis, who works at Micky Kellets MOT Centre around the corner. Big shout up to them. He had another breaker bar, which was worse than mine, but it had a nice bit of scaffolding bar. It's about 4.5 foot long. So we put it back on the ground, got Littlepolka Dot back in the driver's seat, foot on brake, and literally this was at about like 25-degree bend, and eventually it went. I have never known a hub not that tight. So there is a top tip, breaker bar, and then a huge scaffolding hole, which I did spend about 20 minutes looking for around the yard and etc. But unfortunately there wasn't one. So big shout up to Micky Kellets MOT Centre around the corner in Oddington. So thank you very much to them. I'm going to take the hub to them in a bit with this bearing for them to push out for me because I haven't got a press. So let's crack on. Now if your motor has got ABS, which is quite common to be honest, it's going to have a ring like that, sensor like that, and then a cable that will run inside on the inner wing somewhere, and you'll need to disconnect it. So I've just disconnected that there, and then there'll be a little tab there which we'll need to push through. It's probably unlikely I'm going to manage it one-handed. Let's give it a try. There's one tab on it. Oh, sorry guys, you probably can't see that. Let's try that. There we go. 2 tabs. And then Carefully just feed it through. You don't want to damage that wire, because that's part of the sensor and you have to put a new sensor in. And they're big to change. There we go. Simple enough, eh? But just be careful with that sensor when you take it off and you're removing your drive shaft, so you don't damage it, because it would be annoying. Okay, moving on. Right, as you could probably tell, I had a bit of a mare on the bottom ball joint. This car just seems to bring it on. Look at that colour in there, man. It's got some serious heat into that at some point. And, ugh. Anyway, yeah, these are sort of like reverse ball joints, as in the ball joint is actually in the hub, as you can see. So we used a little hub splitter, but I just had to modify it slightly, because it just wouldn't come apart. But we managed it in the end, so that's all good. Right, so was the bearing gone? Well, it shouldn't make that noise. Actually feel the play just in the hub there, obviously you can hear it. So, next job is to see if we can knock that out. Save Micky Kellets doing it for me. Obviously take great care now with that ABS sensor, we don't want to damage that. Here's our new bearing too, it just arrived in the post, which is very handy. I thought we were going to have to wait another day, but get a decent make. All that effort then is worthwhile. So it comes with the new bearing, will get pushed in. Nice new clip, so clip goes in there, and a nice new hub nut, which is good because I give it Macadel one, so that's fine. So we'll try and drive that out. To be honest, I might just leave it to them to press it out. Might get that clip out for them because it's a bit of a pig, and then we'll take it to Micky Kellets. I don't know if I've picked them up yet, but Micky Kellets. They've just been really useful today because I've got a bit of a mare with this. So thanks to them. So we'll take that over there and they'll use their big press and they'll push it in and push it out for me. Good lads. So there we go. Our new bearing is now in. As you can see, the nice circlip, nice and safely in the groove. So just before we put everything back together, we've just cleaned up things like the threads on the ball joint. We've cleaned up the splines and the threads on the drive shaft, a little bit of grease on that. You don't want much, it's flicking everywhere. Just help you get this thing back on. We've cleaned up the bottom of the strut and a little bit of WD-40 on that, because it will evaporate once it's done, but it'll help us obviously slide it on. We've just cleaned up like the inside of the hub and that sort of thing, where the strut sits, just to ease with refitting. So it's going to be a bit boring in real time, so I'll switch to a time lapse again, and then you'll be able to see, hopefully step by step, how to get back on. Basically a reversal of the process that it was to take it off, obviously. Yeah, obviously. Just to note, there's a little locating peg at the back. Always is on the struts like this. There'll either be like a piece of metal sticking down like a little finger, or a little nubbin sticking out there, just to locate that groove on the hub as it comes up. And then when it's seated, you'll be seating on that nice little lip there. So there we go, all done. Spin test. Yeah, it's just the and play test. There we go. That noise you heard just then was just the disc. But there's no lovely rumbling, and there's no play in any direction. So that's all good. If you're wondering what torque to do up the hub nut, well, really tight. Really tight. It's unlikely you're going to have a torque wrench. It's 325 Newton meters if you're interested, but it's unlikely you've got a torque wrench, so just pretty much as tight as you can manage to do it with your breaker bar. Obviously without jumping up and down the end of it. So there we go. Job done on a Peugeot 406 from wheel bearing. Happy to say that went actually not too badly, apart from trying to undo it, and having to undo it with a scaffolding bar. Thank you very much, aeroplane. So thank you very much to Lewis at Micky Kellets. Well, Micky too. Thank you very much. And heads up to them. And thanks very much for watching.